What is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new video. As you can tell, my voice is pretty much back to normal now, so we're back to normal videos. The first thing I really want to do is look at the Kindred rework on the PB. So this is actually on the PB. I wanted to wait to actually talk about this champion, this rework, until I could actually show you it on screen and what it really looks like, because I think you get a better impression of the rework like on the screen rather than just like reading off of a web page like I sometimes do. But anyway, I think she kind of is going to become an AD carry a little bit. She'll be a really good jungler, don't get me wrong, like a really good jungler, especially late game. But also I think AD carry wise she'll be pretty good, because she was already decent as an AD carry actually, even though she wasn't played very much. Mainly not played because she's not very strong of a champion, but you could play her AD. And now she scales with crit, which is really cool. And also she has like an insane late game. Like her range can actually outrange a tower, like in theory, right? It doesn't stop scaling. So it keeps going and going and going with a mark system. If you got into maybe a 60-minute game, you could actually outrange towers. So if you just keep going like and you don't lose, basically, you sit there outside of a tower and you right click it, it dies very slowly, obviously, but you don't get hit by the tower shots like ever. That seems pretty stupid to me. But anyway, let's go over the rework very quickly and show you exactly what it looks like. So the first thing is the passive does not have percentage damage on your auto attacks anymore for each mark. It's a bit different. So actually, the way it works is you have these 4 things you can see at the very bottom. It's increasing your other abilities like with each mark. So every 4 marks, the big one actually is the attack range. The first 4 that you get, so I have 12 at the moment. I wanted to show you something reasonable, not like super ridiculous. The first 4 gives you a 75 bonus in attack range, which is actually pretty crazy. We're up to 125 right now because the 4 after that and the 4 after that, they give you 25. So it does slow down, but the first 4 really good, 75 extra attack range, which is pretty crazy because Kindred's one of her biggest like problems was that she had 500 attack range. Now that is the same as a Kog'Maw without his W on, right? And you all should know that you don't really attack anybody with Kog'Maw when your W is down because you have to go so close to someone. That was Kindred's biggest problem. And now, at the moment, just to show you guys, if I press C and you can see down here, right, 625 is my plus 125 on the 500. That is basically very close to Caitlyn's auto attack range now. With another 4 stacks, I would be at Caitlyn's range. So you've gone from a Kog'Maw level of attack range, which is awful, up to a Caitlyn level of attack range, which is really, really strong. That's why I think you can build crit and you can play her as an AD carry now, because in team fights, you sit right at the back and you basically become a hyper carry like Caitlyn. Another reason is because of the attack speed. As you can see, there's bonus attack speed now with the mark system that scales up on her Q. The percentage damage has moved from a passive onto a W and onto her E. So that is kind of how it works. You still have the same mark system, killing champions. This little box down here would have champions if there was any in the game, and also onto the jungle camps as well. You can see I actually have one on Baron at the moment. If I actually go over there very quickly, you can see that something will pop up over his head for the mark, and you'll get an extra stack just like normal basically. But obviously farming champions, ganking them is easier into the game, and you actually get your first 4 stacks pretty easily. For some reason this is not coming above his head, but anyway, let's go back here. So the Q is basically the same. You still vault around like this, still add the extra auto attack as well. One thing to note though is your Q's range actually scales with your auto attack as well. So even though like it's not just your basic attack range that is increasing, it's your Q range that's increasing as well as that. So if we have a look at it, 5 to 3 arrows and nearby enemies, you deal more AD ratio than before, by the way, as well, and you gain attack speed now for 4 seconds. Now I'm pretty sure this is bugged because there's 60% on my passive at the moment. You get 5% per stack of your passive, and you also have, there's supposed to be a flat 30% on the ability right now. Now this says 70% for some reason at the moment. I'm not exactly sure why, but it should be 30% plus what I would have 60% according to Riot anyway. So I would have 90%. 90% attack speed is no joke. When you just sit here and attack really fast, 90% is double a Phantom Dancer, by the way. So it's actually a ton of free attack speed whenever you use it, and your W pretty much the same as well. It's kind of the same in that if I put it down and I use my Q, it goes down to a 2-second cooldown again, so that I can use it very quickly afterwards. So same kind of mechanic, but actually it's slightly different because you have this range on the ability now. So if I press W, I can actually place the circle anywhere around me, whereas before it would just spawn directly on top of me. I can place it around and it would attack other stuff. So if I actually, like, I'm going to place a dummy over the wall, and then if I press W over here, I can actually send Wolf over Wolf or Lamb, I'm not sure which one. I can send, I'm pretty sure it's Wolf. I can send Wolf over the wall to start attacking that person. So it actually works really well for a team fight situation as well. If you just have a hover over it, and you can actually see. But it does damage. It does magic damage now, by the way, not physical. So it's a little bit of the mixed damage, which is really good because obviously people build armor to stop your basic attacks. Having some magic damage kind of bypasses that, right? Also, you do 7.5% of the target's current health damage. So this, again, is where your percentage health damage is coming in. And obviously, if we look back at our passive, 6% of that is coming from the passive, and 1.5% is just on the ability, if that makes sense. So it obviously buffs your Q as well, like reduces the cooldown, but the percentage damage is actually pretty big there as well. Now with her E, this range actually increases with your basic attack as well. So this is the other one, not just your Q range, your E range actually scales with your passive mark system in the same way. So if you see, for example, that is 625 units away, that is my auto attack range. If I just use my Q, that same kind of thing. So this actually gets better as the game goes on, and this is the thing that slows them by 50% for a second, which is pretty nice. So you can get up close onto them, or you can kite them more importantly, which is another reason why I think she's going to be really good at AD carry. Like, you can dodge around with your Q. Actually, we'll get into that in a second. So after the Lamb's going to attack the target twice, obviously the third one, they bite, you do a lot more damage. The AD ratio is up on this as well, 167. You can see it's actually quite a lot. So it's going to deal like close to 300 damage now with his ability, which is crazy. Plus 14% of their missing health. So as bonus magic damage as well. Again, we've got a lot of mix of magic and physical, which is actually really good for an AD carry. Part of the reason why like Corki was so broken for a while is because you can't build armor to stop him. You have to build armor and magic resist. Obviously, it falls off a little bit late game. You don't really have that issue because you are an auto attack based champion, but you have like all the benefit of it without the downside, which is insane. This is where I said she scales with crit though as well. So you can actually see like when they're below 15%, she's going to crit for 15% extra damage. Now, if you actually see in brackets though, there is 40% extra on top of this. So it's going to be 50% plus 45. So under 55% health now, Wolf is actually going to start critting the enemy champion for 50% more damage. That is why it's actually pretty crazy, because if I don't have that, like, it's more of an execute, right? But actually, like, at this point, because I've built quite a lot of crit, because I've gone triple crits and AD carry, you're now like doing so much more damage at 55% health, which is not really that low if you think about it. As that's why I think partly she's going to work as an AD carry. So ultimate, by the way, exactly the same, just spawns on top of you. So I guess like talking about like very quickly, just to summarize, your mark system now doesn't give you percentage health damage on your auto attacks anymore. So like runes, for example, isn't quite as good. It's still decent with a blade, which is why I have it, but it's not quite as good. You gain more bonus attack range, which infinitely scales. Your Q and your E benefit from that range as well. So both of them are going to be a bit easier to use. Your Dance of Arrows has more attack speed. Your Wolf is going to Your Wolf is going to do more current health damage on your W, and your E is also going to do more missing health damage with that. So like it's going to scale pretty much throughout your kit every time you get a mark. It's much more like useful, I think, if that makes sense. Like it's not just a percentage health damage and you have a really low range. So it really does fix her biggest problem, which is why I kind of like it so much. But yeah, your Q, you get the extra attack speed, obviously. Your W does the current health damage with the extra bites, like when you put it around, and also you can put it over walls as well. Your E, extra range, 3 hits, deals percentage damage. So part of the reason I think this is going to be like good for an AD carry, I just want to very quickly go over that, because a lot of people are saying like she's going to be a really strong jungler, and I think actually you're right. Like she is so late game focused now, it's insane. Her scaling is ridiculous. It's like a Master Yi or maybe a Jax, I guess, in the same kind of way, like a Nasus. You know, actually Nasus is a really good example. Like if you just leave a Nasus in the top lane, you don't kind of do anything, you just like play the game, you kind of know in the back of your head, or like a Vayne, they're probably going to win the game late game, because they just have this scaling that's so good late game. You know that if you sit back and don't do anything, you're probably going to lose. That's very similar to Kindred. Like she still has the same issues early game. Her range is pretty crap. Like she doesn't actually have that much damage, because a lot of her damage is percentage damage. And obviously now a lot of her damage is scaling. Like she does more percentage, more attack speed. Wolf is going to do more damage with more crit. Like all of those things depend on your passive and your items, right? So like she is still an AD carry in the jungle. She's still pretty crap, like early levels and stuff. But once you get your items and once you get your ranks and stuff, once you get your mark system as well, like you're going to pop off amazingly well. Like mid game, late game, you're going to be so strong. Think of Rengar's passive as well, by the way. you know how he gets extra AD and stuff for everybody he's killed, like the individual tokens he's got, right? This is kind of similar in the fact that, like, if you get these marks early because you gank a lot and you actually mark the person before you gank them, or you farm well and you actually get the marks, they like spawn kind of generously for you, you're going to snowball massively ahead because that's so much of your damage now. Like, you're actually going to be able to do way more mid-game than some other games. So some games, if you get no marks, you're not really going to do very much. But if you do get marks, you'll snowball out of control. And that's one of the really dangerous things, I think, giving a snowball mechanic to a late game champion. But yeah, so as an AD carry, you already have like a decent early game. Your trading is pretty good. You can dodge a lot. Like, if you think about it, she has so much stuff to dodge in her kit. She can dodge with her Q. She can reposition and kite with her Q. She has a slow with her E. She has a lot of percentage damage, so it means she can absolutely rip through tanks, which is really nice. She has high range now, so she can stay at the back of fights. We're also thinking we're going to have Locket support. Like, on our support, we'll have a Locket. We'll have Redemption probably to keep ourselves alive. We have a Sensor as well, which is going to give us more health and more attack speed. We have the attack speed steroid with our key, which is a really good synergy with any percentage damage like Blade the Ruined King, or like the rest of our kit, I guess, and critical strike as well, because the more you attack with crits, obviously the more chance you have to crit, the more auto attacks you get off, the more damage you do, basically. It's obviously very obvious in that sense, but and then she has like the ultimate counter, which is her ultimate. So if a Zed tries to jump onto you as a squishy AD carry, you press R, you don't die, you get shields and stuff, you heal your entire team. Like, yes, it's good as a team thing, but it's much better as a selfish thing. Now they've changed it to go on top of yourself, like directly underneath you. It's much better as a thing to use on yourself. And as an AD carry, that doesn't really work much better than that. Like, that's the perfect kind of situation. Plus, you have to remember, you're going to be with a support who has Redemption, right? And this ultimate, you press this lasts for 4 seconds. And then if we look in the shop very quickly as well, the Redemption, 90% sure this is 2.5 seconds? Okay, so this lasts for 4 seconds. After like half the duration, if a support times it and they use a Redemption, basically as soon, or even just like straight away, you're going to get the heal from your ultimate because nobody can die. And you're going to get the heal from the Redemption guaranteed because nobody can die from your ult. So a lot of times, like, Redemption is too late because 2.5 seconds is actually quite a long time. But with a Kindred ultimate, it's a guaranteed heal from Redemption. It's a guaranteed, like, shielding. It gives extra time for everybody. So it makes Redemption better, even though Redemption's already crazy. You're really good with synergy with supports. You have good synergy with critical strike as well. So you can actually go triple crit, like a lot of the builds at the moment, like a Jinx build, a Caitlyn build, for example. Start with Blade. You'll have like lifesteal and stuff for the lane phase. You'll be really strong in the lane phase, good trading. But you also have this really good scaling into the game. You'll have loads of mobility. You don't die. You have like this invulnerable side with your ultimate. So you don't even, you get a free Guardian Angel basically, which is ridiculous. And you can dodge, you can kite. You have crazy damage. Like, I don't really... What more do you want from an AD carry? Like, I can't wait to play Kindred AD carry. If you want to see a gameplay of it, let me know. But I think I'm going to round up the video there. It got a bit longer than I wanted it to be because I got a bit excited. Anyway, thank you very much for watching the video, guys. I really appreciate it. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you in tomorrow's video.